Now we're getting into the more magical part of the book here. Just letting you know where we're at. Taboo. Don't make the mistake of thinking that you must do a ritual to be a good pagan. There is no such thing as required attendance at pagan rites. Some pagan groups may ask members to attend rituals regularly, but that's a group decision, not a religious requirement. Do only the spiritual observations that you find to be meaningful and rewarding. This will keep your spirituality fresh and alive. While it is true, you should not do something that you are against. There are two other ways to look at this. If you are part of a coven, you kind of do have to do what the coven does, because a lot of coven work is about teaching. And if you are refusing to do a ritual, you are thus refusing to learn. And also, you can't just shun them all, because you should do something. It does not have to be a full-blown ritual, but you need to do something. Even if it's lighting up a candle and meditating on like a Sabbath or some other event, as long as you're doing something to be spiritual in your path. Just because the moon reflects light from the sun doesn't mean that, spiritually speaking, the sun is more important. To pagans, moonlight has its own magical energy. That's pretty much self-explanatory there. Pagans have the Espats, where they celebrate the changes of the moons. Some groups will have an Espat for the full moon, and some have them for the new moon. Depends on the tradition. It has been proven factual through some studies that the moon, when it's fully illuminated, the good old full moon, that there's more accidents, more issues, more activity in hospitals, because people are heightened in activity and all that, because there's so much energy coming off the moon. Okay. Ancient pagans made sacrifices to the gods by depositing silver or other valuables in wells and rivers. Modern pagans should never do this, even when attempting to worship like the ancestors. Our water supply is so threatened by pollution that you can't afford to risk contamination by throwing any kind of foreign objects into the water. If you want to make offerings, use a bowl to symbolically represent your well. While it's true, our water supplies are threatened by a lot of contamination. If you know something is natural, such as a piece of wood, you can sacrifice that as throwing that into the lake, the well, to make your offering. A straight piece of iron, something that's pure iron, you can throw into the water as well. Okay? It is when you're getting into the plastics and the artificially created materials that we are really concerned about on that. An interesting little history note on that part. There are a couple lakes in Italy where they were noticing when they drained them, they were finding a bunch of swords, beautiful swords, jewelry, helmets, shields, because the Celts would throw as a sacrifice, as a tribute, something as impressive as a sword into the water. And I mean, sometimes these were gold items and such, but they would throw them in the lakes to show, respect. And, it's just, I thought that was quite interesting. The Celts did it a lot. So that's where they're talking about. Okay. Respect, yes. Superstition, no. As a pagan, you'll want to treat your altar and your ritual tools with due reverence. But don't overdo it to a point where you freak out if your baby drools on your altar cloth. Remember that the goddess is level-headed and has a sense of humor. So be reverent and upkeep in its perspective. Okay, we live a normal life. Things happen. And so we have to take care of our altar, kind of protect it at times, but we cannot go nuts on, everything that happens. Now, like your Adame and your wand. Now, those are two very personal tools, and I believe that nobody else should handle them. And so nobody else touches them. They're out on my wall, on my altar, but, out of respect, nobody touches them. I don't touch anybody else's Adame or wand out of respect. The hardest thing for me is I got to learn a little bit more patience because I have 4 cats. And 2 of my cats, my 2 big ones, my 2 Norwegian forest cats, love to walk across my altar and donate cat hair to it. So we have to learn to show reverence but not be paranoid. Pagan is a path of personal liberty, so among other things, there is no rule against alcohol. But remember, the charge to harm none, strictly speaking about to wickeds. Alcoholics, minors, and those who will be driving are all at risk of causing harm to others, to themselves or others, when they drink. So the freedom of paganism is also balanced by common sense responsibility. What they're saying is, we have to think before we act. And alcohol can be part of a ritual. Just make sure that, you don't have somebody drinking a bottle of wine then going to be driving. I use alcohol in my Mabon ritual. Back in 2006, I brewed some wine. It turned out really, really good. It's apple pear. And so what I do every Mabon is I go to Spring Brook, which is the nature park not too far away from me. And I will go walk on nature trail, find a deer trail, someplace, find a nice little high point where I can watch over, the land, the little creek that goes through it and all that. And I will talk to nature around me. I'll look for the birds, the animals, and all that. And for every drink that I take, I give a little libation back to the earth. And so that is a way that alcohol can be used responsibly in a ritual. Magical names, okay? Don't just choose the first name that comes to you when deciding on your magical name. Take the time and make sure the name you choose is right for you. All right. This is an important part of finding your witch name or your spiritual name. What you guys see as my channel is actually part of my witch name. My public witch name is Blue Sage Dragon. I made a video about it, but the gist is this. Blue is my favorite color. Sage is somebody who seeks knowledge, who is trying to be very wise. And a dragon is my favorite mystical creature. And it is a balance of strength and knowledge, cunning and wisdom. And I believe that is what I wish to be. And so I try to embody that. And so I am Blue Sage Dragon. Taboo. Don't give up on meditation just because a popular form like Zazen or transcendental meditation doesn't appeal to you. If you aren't the Zen type, just keep looking. There's bound to be a style of meditation that suits you personally. Meditation can be hard when you are first starting off. I was self-taught on meditation. And one of the hardest things about it was the misconception. Thanks to TV, they tell you that white paper, clear your mind. And I learned that was the dumbest thing that they could tell you. Find something that relaxes you, something that you can get focused on. Easy. The nature park that I like to go to a lot. I picture myself walking down that nature trail. I mean, there's so many of them, so I can just focus going on my favorite one right next to the picnic area, and then taking the side trail off of it and going to where very few people go. And I can get into a very relaxed mental state, and I can meditate in that way. Resist the temptation to get mad at yourself if you don't do it perfectly the first time or 100th time. Meditation is an art, and like all forms of art, it is beautiful and valuable even when it's not entirely perfect. Yeah, that's self-explanatory. I beat myself up pretty bad, those first couple months of me trying to get that white paper. And I'm going, I hear people do this all the time. Why can't I do it? White paper, white paper, white paper. And I was getting a little mad with myself. Then I did more research. I found about finding the place that relaxes you the most. And it's all good. All right. More magic. Whether you are more oriented towards magical, power-oriented, or mystical, divination-oriented forms of spirituality, avoid thinking that your way is the better way. Nature is filled with beautiful diversity. Why shouldn't pagan spirituality be just as multifaceted? Your way is the way that's right for you. Respect others who do it differently. Again, this is where I get into trouble because I look at other people's videos and I'm trying to learn as I watch some videos. And I see what I've read, what I've seen on other videos, sometimes they clash. So I have to learn and remind myself to calm it down a little bit. But the diversity of magic is wonderful. There is a book I would suggest to anyone who's interested in spell work, and that is the Grimoire for the Apprentice Wizard by Oberon Zell. Heck, I might do this book sometime soon. He has a color code in here as well. They're talking about diversity. What type of magic do you want to work on? Okay, because you got your meditation, healing, war cunning, cosmology, beast mastery, alchemy, illusion, divination. There's so much to do out there in magic. Just don't do one thing. Learn. Okay? All right. Taboo. Kids, don't try this at home. Ceremonial magic, like traditional witchcraft, involves powerful spiritual exercises that will, among other things, place you face to face with your deepest doubts and fears. If you are interested in learning more about ceremonial magic, find a reputable teacher or a group to study with. It's kind of like the good old Ouija board. So many people think it's a toy, or they don't take it as serious as they should, and stupid things happen. The quickest way to make magic fail is to do nothing on the mundane plane to achieve your goals. The goddess knows if you are just a slacker trying to get her to do all the work. She may be loving, but she's no fool. This just reminds me of the old story about the man complaining about not winning the lottery. And so, he was making demands. I need to win the lottery. Why am I not winning the lottery? And, he complained for, a good month. And then one day the goddess appeared to him and says, you got to buy a ticket first, moron. Okay? Got to do things yourself, too. The god and goddess should not have to do half the work. You should be doing most of the work yourself.